Welcome to a new episode of Meditando. Today I have the pleasure of talking and meditating with a yogi who has been practicing and teaching Kundalini Yoga since 1989. After graduating with a PhD in aeronautical engineering, he began working for Yogi Tea and Golden Temple cereal companies. In 2007, he became a Kundalini Yoga teacher trainer. He worked directly with Yogi Bhajan, coordinating three HO's legacy businesses and no-profit organizations, including the Kundalini Research Institute. He also volunteered as a member of board of directors of the Kundalini Research Institute and the Centro Ram Dass Center for Medicine and Humanology. Now, he is a dedicated full-time CEO of the Kundalini Research Institute. Welcome to the show, Amrit Singh Khalsa.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
Yes, my pleasure. Thank you so much for dedicating this time to us. We always like to start the interviews by asking a simple question. How did yoga or spirituality appear in your life?
Very much by chance or by destiny, you might say. I was in college, and we had a requirement to take a certain number of gym classes, right? Physical education. And Kundalini Yoga was one of the options. So a friend of mine recommended it, say, hey, you might like this, try it out. It was taught by some strange looking guy, all in white and a turban, but I tried it just because I needed the gym credits. And to be honest, the first section is like a 7-week introduction. I didn't even like it that much. No huge epiphanies, no instantly in love with it for me. But I liked one thing. I liked the deep relaxation. Laying out at the end of the class was like, wow, that was pretty cool. So I signed up and took it again. I took another 7-week segment to get more gym credit out of it. And that time I felt a little bit more effect and impact, kind of energy moving and spine and whatnot. And I just kept taking it after that. So it grew on me gradually.
And now you are the CEO of the Kundalini Research Institute, right? A few years after.
Yeah.
Now, imagine you are talking with a person that doesn't know nothing about yoga, spirituality, Kundalini Yoga. How would you explain what is the Kundalini Research Institute, just in a simple layman language, let's say, but especially why the Kundalini Research Institute exists?
Sure. Well, we're focused on preserving and promoting the practice of the Kundalini Yoga as taught by Yogi Bhajan. So part of that mission of preserving it is we have a library of teachings with all of the recordings of the lectures and classes that Yogi Bhajan gave. That's free and open to the public. We publish books on Kundalini Yoga, again, trying to make this huge body of teachings and an approach to yoga available to everyone. We run a global yoga teacher training school. To us, a big part of preserving these teachings, it's not only static words on a page, it's a living spark, it's a living consciousness that gets passed from student to teacher and from heart to heart. So part of our mission of preserving this body of teachings is to train teachers who train teachers who train teachers, to keep that flowing. So we also run courses and teach courses. And then we support research into the biomedical effects of our practices. So there's been some so far on our website. We've got over 100 articles linked, some of them most of them in peer-reviewed journals, so very professional scientific research into what's actually happening and or what are the demonstrable, provable effects of what we're doing. So showing in that scientific way the benefits. Some of the recent ones, for example, showed like the hippocampus, part of the brain structure, grows when you practice meditation. There have been a number of studies focused on one particular meditation that we do called Kirtan Kriya, and how it can help memory loss or prevent the degradation of people who are pre-Alzheimer's. So showing these positive effects through the rigor of scientific inquiry helps make it, let's say, safe and accessible for new people to try it. You know, it's like, okay, look, it's been studied. Let me try it for myself and see if I feel a benefit.
That sounds quite interesting, right? Especially because sometimes people not just don't understand, but doesn't believe, no, about the benefits behind yoga or meditation, right? So this is a way to prove what has been proven, by the way, many, many, many years ago, but now maybe more scientifically, right? As you commented.
Right. Yeah, yoga has always been proven, like you said, as an internal experience, right? As a subjective science. And what we're seeing now is this very gradual coming together of the subjective experience. What does it feel like when I meditate? What is my experience, including spiritual and transcendental experiences? And how does science look at that when science doesn't even really know what is the soul, what is the mind, what is consciousness? But slowly, they're coming together. And I'm a scientist at heart, so I trust that someday they will join together and they won't speak two different languages anymore.
Yes, that is actually sounds like a mission and a vision at the same time. So definitely, I'm just wondering, because anyway, there is a tradition or roots, no, in the teachings from Yogi Bhajan. So how about this balance between proving something or not proving something, maybe, and maintaining the original teachings? Okay, is this a challenge for you as an organization, or is not even a challenge? What do you think?
No, I don't see them as opposed or pulling in opposite directions. That what Yogi Bhajan taught, again, is a huge set of practices. And this is what they are. We're clear about what they are, and here they all are as they originally were taught. And picking, let's say, one meditation from the thousands that he taught and studying that in depth, fine, fantastic, great. That is, I think, traditionally how people practiced yoga and meditation, right? They would find one teacher who would teach them one kriya, right? One set of practices, and they would devote themselves to mastering that. And through mastering that one thing, it can open up all the healing benefits and the emotional, mental benefits and the spiritual benefits. We almost have the curse of too many practices, hundreds of physical kriyas to practice and thousands of meditations and so many lifestyle techniques and tips and things to keep our energy and our spirits high. Any one of them could be, done in depth to the exclusion of others and be a fine lifetime worth of practice. So studying pieces of what we practice does nothing, in my opinion, other than help make it more popular, more accessible, and, like you said, kind of something that newcomers can trust.
Yes, I'm just wondering, because definitely researching is a key activity, let's say. No, this is basically the foundation, right? It's a research institute. So what is the prioritization process, if you want? I mean, the decision-making process about selecting among all these literally thousands of meditations, kriyas from Yogi Bhajan. You need to pick up, okay, Kirtan Kriya, this one, let's study this. Let's spend time, money, energy on investigating this. So what process do you follow to make this decision among all these?
So right now, those decisions are mostly made by the researchers themselves, right? We're partnering with university professors, generally, who have the time, the resources to do these studies. And so it's based on their research interests, really. So if there's a group that's interested in studying PTSD, for example, so we provided them a it was actually the Guru Ram Dass Center for Medicine and Humanology provided a protocol to study that was helpful with PTSD, because that was the research interest. The Kirtan Kriya and the memory loss, there was one person, Dr. Dharma Singh Khalsa, who Yogi Bhajan said that Kriya will help. And so he's just made his focus. He has a nonprofit around this area to prevent Alzheimer's. And he's partnering with UCLA primarily and other universities to study the effects of that one, because Yogi Bhajan told him this will work in this instance, and he sort of made it his mission. We looked at things like sleep, and there's some researchers on sleep, dealing with stress and anxiety, and trying to get some studies going with medical students and nursing students, both in South America and the US. So it's kind of where the research interest is, because doing the research is a time-consuming and expensive process to do.
Yes, definitely. Actually, I was thinking about all this holistic wellness. Now people is looking for the holistic, no? It's not just the body or the mind, but all together. So how does Kundalini Research Institute think the Kundalini Yoga address this holistic wellness approach, where we are looking, yes, body, mind, energy. So what do you think about that? What would you tell the audience that is looking for alternative?
Yeah, well, a lot of what we practice has deep roots in Ayurveda, right, which is a healing system from India that's very old. So there's a lot of that wisdom embedded in Kundalini Yoga and kind of the diet and lifestyle practices. That's part of our overall lifestyle. And yoga in general, coming from the subcontinent of India, comes from a place where those splits between body, mind, and spirit aren't like they are in the West, right? It's coming from a tradition where we as humans have always been viewed holistically. So practicing yoga and practicing meditation is one of the best ways to work with the integration between those three levels of our being, right? Like you're saying, physical, mental, and spiritual. So practicing Kundalini Yoga, sometimes we do a lot of physical movement, physical postures, breathing, but they don't just work our muscles, right? To get stronger muscles, it works on primarily the glandular system and the nervous system, right? Then maybe the third system added in there is circulation. But Kundalini Yoga, if I was going to say even what's different between Kundalini Yoga and some of the other more physical forms of yoga, is by focusing on these two physical systems, primarily nerves and glands, those are those bridges to our emotional state and our mental state. It's the glands, especially the keys to our overall health. And when the nervous system and the glands come into a balance, that's what opens our gateways, our sensitivities to the more spiritual aspects of us. That was one of the definitions Yogi Bhajan gave of what is the Kundalini energy. It's often talked about in these very mystical, mysterious kinds of language. He said, when the energy of your glandular system and your nervous system come together, then your brain can work as it should be, and you can see reality as it is. That's the Kundalini. So he was taking away the mysticism in a way. He's saying, look, if we all have a nervous system and a glandular system. And when those work together, right, in the right sort of rhythmic combination, they're both strong and synchronized, that opens up our perception. And in a sense, it opens up what we all innately have anyway, which is a spirit, which is a connection to the broader universe. So Kundalini is awareness. So when our nerves and glands work together, our awareness grows, and we can just recognize. We don't have to believe. We don't have to trust on faith. We can have that subjective experience in your own self. Whoa, I am connected to the whole universe. Wow, I don't have to be the slave to stress or my emotional temper tantrums. Like I have a part of me that can transcend that, all because of how I moved my body and how I regulated my breathing, right? I can use the physical to affect the mental and emotional and open the gateways to the spiritual. So anyway, a long answer, but yoga is coming from this tradition that's based in the belief of holism, right? That we are whole. And the practices themselves help make that integration. So it can be healing in and of itself. I know a lot of stories of people who feel they've dealt with anxiety issues, gotten off anxiety medications, depression and other types of emotional disorders, physical things. I've had a bad back. I did X, Y, and Z Kriya, and now it's better. So practicing Kundalini Yoga can be healing in and of itself. It also, the energy, the internal changes that it makes can create the foundation for other healing practices to be even more effective. So I think it's an adjunct and a great addition. Hey, I'm seeing a therapist, or I'm taking herbs, or I'm under the care of a naturopath. Well, practicing Kundalini Yoga can help make all of that more effective because you're breathing and moving your body and help freeing up the energy blocks that help that. So I think Kundalini Yoga is both a naturopathic healing in itself. It comes from a tradition, like I said, of Ayurveda, has healing lifestyle suggestions, and it's a great booster of any other practices and healing modalities as well.
Yes, I would like to also, in addition to all this, by experience, Kundalini Yoga is kind of cocktail of, basically, when you practice other yogas, maybe you focus mainly in the body and not necessarily in the breathing or chanting or even mudras. But Kundalini Yoga, in whatever class you go, you can face with all this, difference. Because for some people, maybe chanting is the answer, what they're looking, or maybe for others, it's the asana, or maybe for others, it's the pranayama. And Kundalini Yoga gives you the opportunity to try everything. And I need to tell, this is an advantage over the rest of the yogas. They are anyway good, of course, but in Kundalini Yoga, you have really a catalog of experience, right? So even if
we have a lot of variety.
Yes, so I really, and it's easy to engage and to boost, to really feel different after the first few classes, right? I was wondering, you commented before the Kirtan Kriya is a well-recognized from this investigation, this research, the benefits and everything is internationally recognized. Any other success story after, I think, 50 years from the Kundalini Research Institute have been there? Any other kind of the biggest, do you remember now, a story that you would like to share, success story, in regards of the benefit to people or to communities?
Well, just very recently, there's the war happening in Ukraine, of course, and we just completed there a level 1 teacher training in Ukraine. And the stories that are coming from the practitioners, the people who, while bombs are falling, are chanting, and the miracles that they're seeing from that. And even if the miracle is just that they can maintain their own inner peace while literal war is happening around them, that is enough of a miracle. So the inner strength that the practice is giving to these people under really intolerable conditions is great to hear. So I'm really grateful for the teachers and the teacher trainers who are going into those challenging situations and spreading this hope that's helping people. From the research perspective, I mentioned these other things that had happened pretty recently about sleep and PTSD. There's talk in Ukraine about using that PTSD information to help soldiers and the populace who are really suffering. There's another great organization called Yoga for Youth that's related to the Kundalini Yoga world, and they've been teaching yoga to children, especially children in inner cities. So there's now a school district in the US that has reached tens of thousands of students, again, in simple ways, in small ways, through yoga classes, and helping teachers to do some breathing techniques to the students who are suffering in various ways. So that's also been a big success, supported in a small way by KRI, but really driven by the teachers who are out there. In this case, a teacher who worked at that school and who had a passion. Well, his story is he was meditating in his classroom at lunch, just for his own mental sanity. And some students walked by and looked in his door and saw him. "What are you doing?" And they wanted to join him. And then some more kids joined, right? So it very organically grew from just him meditating in his classroom. And now he's running a program that's through the whole school district. So I think that's one of the beauties of Kundalini Yoga and how we view KRI's role. Like, we don't want to be Microsoft that controls Kundalini Yoga around the world, and is a giant, but what happens, when you practice, well, any spiritual practice, but you practice Kundalini Yoga, and it wakes up in you a desire to do service, to help others, right? Like you can wake up your own inner resources, your own inner energy, and you feel like you have enough. Like, when you're not suffering, when you don't feel like I need more money, I need more time, I'm always tired. When you feel energized and enthusiastic, you're like, now I can give. I can give money, I can give my time, I can give my, help and be of service. So some people serve by teaching yoga, right? That's great because yoga helps, but other people serve through serving food, or my skill, I have skills as a businessman. So yeah, I do some teaching still, but I use my skills as a businessman to serve in my way. So there's like this spreading effect, not just spreading yoga for yoga's sake, but to wake up in every person that we touch the spirit of service, and then whatever calls to them, whatever is the best way that they can embody helping others, playing music in an old person's home or something, right? It doesn't have to be, well, I only teach yoga to old people, elderly. No, like, I'm just out there serving. So I like to think of KRI, when you buy the Windows computer, it has the sticker that says Intel inside. So that's kind of KRI, like we're like the power inside, the Kundalini Yoga that empowers someone to go to Ukraine to teach, that empowers someone to go into prisons. There's people in Mexico who teach in rape crisis centers. There's people who teach in orphanages. There's people all over the world who have taken inspiration and then found where their heart is called, right? The Kundalini Yoga gives them that power, that sense of their own safety, their own, enoughness that now they can give to others. So we're not out there, controlling or trying to do the service all ourselves, but hopefully being that core Intel inside, or the Kundalini inside.
Yes, I like the example, by the way. I'm also a computer engineer, so so I like the example. But definitely, Kundalini Yoga is also, I don't know, I guess, but the yoga with more teachers than students, probably, right? Because everybody gets so empowered, so boosted that they want to teach as a service, right? Not necessarily for living. And that is really nice, because I honestly believe the biggest achievement as a human being is when you find a way to serve other human beings. Is when that's, for me, is kind of realization, right? You figure out your own way that you enjoy, that you are good at, but especially to serve others, not for just for money, but to really serve, not from this seva, right? The seva concept. So it's really, really nice. I was checking the website, the official one. I realized you became the CEO 4 years ago, right? 2020, right?
Yeah.
In the middle of the pandemic, basically, right?
Yeah.
How about that? Not the pandemic, okay? But how about 3 years plus, more or less, so far. What are your biggest learnings so far as a CEO of this huge organization?
I mean, each day I get inspired again. I mean, even talking to you right now, I get inspired just thinking about how many people are touched and uplifted by this practice. You know, when I was out more actively teaching and as a teacher trainer, I was seeing it maybe more close up, you know, in a teacher training and watching that group of people transform and just brighten and brighten and brighten. So I'm not as close to those individual transformations now, but hearing the stories of thousands, and I mean, more than thousands, like that's what inspires me. So that's a learning of like how big our reach is, you know, of Kundalini Yoga and around the world. In terms of challenges, you know, learning the challenges, I think COVID has really destroyed the yoga market. I mean, not just Kundalini Yoga, like because of it forcing all the studios to close. And it's great that it forced online teaching to come. I think there's a lot of benefits to online teaching to reach more people and be more accessible. But I think there is something that's lost when it's online rather than in person. What's also been lost is a bit of a personal connection with the students, right? I think not that it can't happen, but when you would go in person to classes, the teacher would recognize you. If you come a few times, they'd say hello, and you could get support. You could learn about Kundalini Yoga. Oh, you know, there's a workshop next weekend. Oh, you know, now we're offering a teacher training, so that people could kind of get a sense of how that they could keep learning and progressing and deepening their knowledge, deepening their connection with this path. Well, if you just kind of go online and take a YouTube video here and an online pre-recorded class there, like you don't have that one-on-one connection. And so that you're on your own of like, well, what do I do next? You know, where do I need to focus, you know, and learn about Ayurvedic diets? Where do I learn about, you know, breathing or workshops? So I think that's something that I don't know what the answer is. I don't know how the market will evolve so that we embrace the positives of online teaching, but still have a stronger connection with the students and find those ways to help them, those who want to deepen their practice. So that I think is one of the biggest challenges is adapting to the world today, because the other learning, which has been predicted, Yogi Bhajan said over and over, the age is going to come where people are going to go crazy, right? Like so the world keeps getting more and more chaotic, more and more stressful. So, you know, we hear from students and from teachers, you know, people have trouble committing to take a teacher training, even that their lives feel so out of their control. You know, I might lose my job. My parents just got sick. I don't know what's going to happen, you know, with my income, with my life, with my partner, that they can't commit to a 6 or a 9 month training. So Kundalini Yoga and what we have to offer is even more in need, but it feels harder to reach people in a way because of they don't have that one-on-one connection with a teacher. So those are some of the key things I've seen in the last couple of years.
Yes, thank you for sharing all this. Totally support and down with that, because you know what I'm sharing the same feeling, especially this concept of Sangat, right? This community, which really make the difference when you go in a person, no, inside class versus an online. It's not the same. And it's even worse sometimes because you are in an online, but you don't even turn your camera on. So even the teacher cannot even see if you are doing well or not the asana. So it is what it is, and definitely, I don't know, it looks like, this is just my opinion, but it looks like it's a long-term challenge, especially because of technology, and especially because of the new generation. They have been born in, in the new technology. So it is definitely a topic to think about in the Kundalini Research Institute, but for sure you will figure out some way, right? And now that we're talking about the future, I'm also wondering, how do you see the Kundalini Research Institute, for example, maybe it's too long, or from years, or maybe 5 years from now, what are the goals or initiatives that you are looking forward to 5 or maybe 10, if possible, years from now? Anything to share on this?
Well, we want to continue to take advantage of any opportunity for more research. I think laying that as a solid foundation that things like schools and businesses can build on. So I'm going to try to, over the next 5 or 10 years, increase the amount and the visibility for research into Kundalini Yoga. We're going to continue to try to experiment and innovate on ways to adapt to technology, primarily this online teaching. Probably in 10 years, it'll be virtual reality. Maybe that'll help with the one-on-one connection. Instead of the camera being off, it'll just feel like I'm in the class with you and I can interact with you in VR. But like you said, Sangit, how does Sangit work in the this kind of world, as well as the technology of the yoga itself? I think a lot of us teachers were surprised at how well it worked to teach online. Like, students do get a great experience and feel a lot of impact and benefit. But then, especially now that we're coming back in person, it is still more impactful in person. So how do we maximize the impact online? And how do we encourage people who can travel and, to come? For example, there's this great yoga festival in France every year, right? There's over 1,000 people who came together and practiced for a week in person. And there were people who'd never done Kundalini Yoga in person with a group. And they're like, oh my God, like doing it like in a group. So Sangit and the technology and how to teach, I think will continue to evolve and improve in the next 5 to 10 years. Other than that, it's just, we're going to continue to stay solid and steady with, these are the teachings. There'll be more books coming out and more classes and more workshops, but trying to reach people where they're at, trying to support the entrepreneurs, the innovators, those who are in the schools or teaching in Ukraine, or finding innovative ways to take our intel inside and put it into their computer, into their offering, into what they're called to deliver into the world. So we're that base. We want to stay solid and keep that strong and be empowering to those who are using it in new ways.
Now that you are sharing all this, I was thinking that when you teach online, you are providing the service. But when you teach in person, you provide an experience, right? So there is a huge gap between just getting a service versus getting an experience. And having a full experience online, even with VR or whatever, or AI or whatever, is going to be quite complicated because we're still being humans, right? So, and this is a message for whoever is watching this interview. Definitely the in-person, not the offline. Now we say offline experience is an experience. It's not just doing yoga. It's a whole experience. And you connect with other human beings, which is more than ever really important, right? Because isolation is killing humanity, and that is something that everybody should be aware of.
But a lot of things, the world is getting more polarized. So there's a polarity between isolation, but more connection, right? Online, in some ways, helps us be more connected. You and I are a 6-hour flight apart right now, and it feels like we're right here. Teaching online can enable someone who can't leave their house, who, for whatever reason, who doesn't have the money to fly to a place where there's a course, right? Who lives out, all sorts of reasons, they can finally take a Kundalini Yoga class or a workshop or a training. So it can connect us, but you're right. So anytime we deal with a polarity, I don't want to try to pick, one or the other. Is it online or is it in person is better? Well, they both have positives and negatives. How can we transcend the polarity and use them both in the right ways, right? So how to use online to connect us in maybe more surface ways, but how do we also have the in-person connection that keeps us as a social animals, more mentally healthy? So that's something that we as Kundalini yogis need to navigate, and the whole world does too. Like you said, and what you pointed out, the mental health of the world is suffering. Isolation is a big part. I mean, global warming, I was reading that kids and teenagers, their stress because of what we're doing to the planet that they have to inherit is really hurting their mental health, and these things are vicious spirals. When you're stressed because there's rapid change, because of, depression, whatever, you're under stress, we tend to contract, right? We constrict, even mentally, right? We want to focus in because it's hard to look at the big picture. With survival instinct, focus on the tiger in the grass, not, what I'm going to do next year. But if we don't think big picture, long-term, take into account multiple factors, when we give in, so to speak, to that narrowing that stress causes, we make poor decisions. Our health is impacted, and then that poor decision compounds and we get more stressed and more stressed. So the vicious cycle. And I was saying before, the types of help Kundalini Yoga can give people is more necessary right now than ever. So isolation is a big part of that. Anyway, I went off topic from your question, but
No, but yeah, definitely. This new generation, today's teenagers are really, really suffering, and we can see that it's really sad when you see in the news teenagers committing suicide. That is like something that historically, as humanity, I believe, never before. Okay, so it's something that to be really, really aware of. Yeah. But just to let's say increase the inspiration in this interview, okay, to don't go down but to go up. Before the meditation, one last question. It's around all this actually, but imagine you have one single wish that is going to be for you and for the rest of the human beings. So whatever you wish is going to affect you as well as the rest of the humanity. What will you wish for?
The thing that comes to mind is this one saying that Yogi Bhajan would say over and over and over again. It's see the God in all. Right? He would say, if you can't see God in all, you can't see God at all. But contracting that to I would like to see, and I hope every human being could see the God in all. Because if we did, we wouldn't destroy the planet. We wouldn't destroy each other. We would be of service. And we would feel happy, because if you're in the presence of infinite, the infinite, you feel that you're complete. So you don't have stress and worry. And then you're helping others. And that's what gives us true joy, when we help others. So if everyone could see that, I think the world would be positioned to solve the issues that we're facing, and we'd move through them gracefully and successfully.
Thank you for sharing this wish. I really enjoyed the conversation. I'm really happy to see the vision and the mission of the Kundalini Research Institute is more alive than ever, and is continue. I'm pretty sure they will continue contributing with the communities around the world. So thank you so much for this time. Amrit Singh Khalsa, and now is the time to meditate together.